What are you doing with your life? Paint your life. Don't just survive, thrive. How to paint your life the way you want it. You are so immersed in it that it is difficult to wrap your mind around your existence. It's like attempting to comprehend the ocean while learning to swim. Most days, your only concern is about staying afloat. Therefore, deciding what to do with your life and how to spend your time is not an easy task. There are countless things to divert you. Your loved ones, close companions, routine jobs, interesting projects, and social circles. Reading books while playing video games. Then there is your couch, which needs to be used for lying. It's simple to become lost. Let's take a step back and examine your life from a distance. Paint your life. Insecurity fades as you grow older. The teen years' insecurities had started to fade. You can be in a long-term relationship or a career. Perhaps you've begun a family or are pursuing additional education. Perhaps you don't do any of that, but you still want to have a fulfilling life, whatever that means to you. Or perhaps you feel lost and unsure about your next steps. Assuming you are one of the fortunate ones, you were born with a total of 5,200 weeks of life at your disposal. You were a child during the first 600 weeks of your life and an adolescent for the remaining 400. You weren't very useful to society at this point, and your decision-making freedom was limited. As a reward, you were slightly exempted from the drawbacks and obligations of maturity. Mostly because well-intentioned adults cleaned up your mess and gave you time to figure yourself out, therefore protecting you. You need this time to become a functioning human, at least in principle. However, during puberty, the majority of people probably stop feeling that way. In any case, more than 1,000 of your 5,200 weeks will have passed by the time you are 20. Don't just paint the picture of your life, create it. Depending on your goals, you may already be employed or enrolled in higher education at this point. You can have a wide range of fun throughout this time in your life. The serious side of life starts earlier if you learn a trade or need to work to support yourself or others. If you attend college, you get put off starting a job a little longer. In any case, the majority of people begin their careers in their 20s at the latest. This marks the start of your life's productive, or possibly soul-crushing, or grindy, period. Most people continue to work until they are 65. This implies that you will work seriously for at least 2,000 weeks of your life, ideally in a position that makes you feel good and valued or that improves the world. For most people, this is the cornerstone of life. When you might get married, get divorced, have children, travel a little, advance professionally, build a house, and fall in love once more. You move from being young through middle age to old during this phase, but not really old, only the young old of your 60s. 3,400 of your 5,200 weeks have been used up by age 65. Paint your life. The final stage of your life has begun. The final stage of your life has begun. Theoretically, once you've amassed enough wealth to retire, you can spend the next 1,800 weeks doing whatever you want. Only 19 out of 20 persons will live to be 100. In the US, 79 years is the average lifespan. Germany's value is 81. 84 in Japan. It is 75 in Brazil. You would only have 780 weeks of freedom after retiring if you passed away at the age of 80, which is still not too bad. That equates to around the same number of weeks of freedom you had as a child. Unfortunately, illness and aging fatigue might trip you up in this situation since as we get older, our bodies start to deteriorate rapidly. For instance, those over 70 account for the vast majority of cancer-related deaths. If you staked everything on enjoying freedom and happiness in retirement, you run the risk of being sorely let down. And even then, it's still assumed that everything works out and that you live a long life. You can pass away in a vehicle accident at 48, get cancer at 32, or drown in a pool at the age of 7. At the age of 60, you can tumble from a ladder. Every day the universe throws a lot of dice for every person, and every day someone on this world rolls a critical failure, which results in their death that day. More dice. Paint your life. How to turn your boring existence into an artistic masterpiece. Normally, you do not give much thought to any of this while you swim across the ocean your existence, and that is okay. The future is this ill-defined odd thing, and life is interesting enough on its own. But periodically reflecting on it can help you to refocus on your goals and reduce the amount of regret you will feel in the future. And to remind you that tomorrow may not present itself to you if you don't make use of your time now. Making choices amongst all the things and people that are important to you can be difficult since life is complicated. During the coronavirus pandemic, this became brutally clear to billions of individuals. So many things that we took for granted were no longer available if you respected social distance. Traveling, dining out, going to public places, seeing. Paint your life, a parent's guide to making the most of precious time together. Together time became precious and scarce. However, the time you spend with the people you care about is already priceless. Consider your parents. You practically live with them every day when you're a kid. Your time together starts to decrease as you transition into adolescence and struggle to forge your own identity. However, as teenagers, you probably still see them frequently. However, as you get older and more individuals move out, this situation changes. For work, school, or just to be by themselves. Even if your parents live to be quite old, if you make an effort to spend 2 weeks with them every year for the rest of their lives, covering the major holidays, birthdays, and a little extra, you will still have already spent more than 90% of the time you will ever have with them. This number decreases much more if they pass away earlier or if you only see them sometimes. Therefore, it is highly likely that you have already spent the most of your time with your parents. The same applies to your siblings or former friends who relocated to a different region of the country. You are spending your final moments with some of your most significant relationships. You'll see them one final time one day. In reality, everything else is the same. The idea of performing an action for the last time is unsettling. It seems like something that should only be experienced by someone who are on death row. Don't just paint the town red, paint your life. Do you have a pastime that you have neglected for a while? Perhaps you still own the Warhammer miniatures you intended to paint. Did you always yearn to go back to the spot where you had such a great time 10 years ago? Have you been meaning to get in touch with someone for a while but haven't yet? Or return to that sport in order to make new friends? Perhaps you won't do any of these again because life interferes and, eventually, it is too late. We will all soon be able to be with one another again and engage in enjoyable activities as the worldwide pandemic starts to wind down. There is never a terrible time to get in touch with a buddy or potential friend and express your excitement about hanging out. But regardless of when you are watching this, there are a ton of enjoyable, interesting, and gratifying things to do in life. You also get to choose what and who are important to you. But the most important thing is that you occasionally actually make decisions.